Willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic with Lyte. Glad you made it back. It's been a long break, but here we are again in Scrap Mechanic. The voting is over. Scrap Mechanic won by a huge margin, but the others made it on the board as well. So I'm probably going to try to create content to the proportions that the voting came out, which is essentially twice as much Scrap Mechanic as Minecraft, and more than twice as, well, maybe not twice as much Minecraft as there was Super Mario Maker. Now, I don't have Mario Maker yet, so it might be a little bit before I start making content for that. And Minecraft, I'm more likely to stream than record, so keep an eye out for me on here and on Twitch for more live stream sorts of things. I'll try to keep making Scrap Mechanic videos, particularly over the weekend, and then during the week I might take an hour or two throughout the week to live stream such that I can hang out with you guys, see what's going on with you, and try to interact with you more in that particular venue. But again, I'm sorry for all you people that are around the world. I am bound by the Eastern time zone, so I can only do so much, and I can't do the early morning live streams that were late at night for Australia. I might try it again at some point, but not anytime soon. But you're probably wondering why I'm out here in the forest. This episode's supposed to be about logic. Well, I'm just sitting around watching my computer. Y'all asked for a computer, so I figured I'd make one, watch my old stream from Monday, yeah? Yeah, it was Monday when I was playing some Sultan Sanctuary for you guys. And yeah, y'all asked for a fancy computer? I've got one with YouTube. Ha! You can just come over here and open it up inside, and you can take a look. Got a couple of optical drives. We got ourselves a motherboard. Good old-fashioned graphics card, maybe a bit of RAM in there. All set and ready to go. Unfortunately, given the lack of cables, I had to go completely wireless. But it's still a pretty nice machine, and, well, as you can see, it gets YouTube. Okay, so I did a little bit of work in post. But you asked for it, so I gave it to you. Now let's get over to the actual logic that I was promising you. All joking aside, logic is pretty important. In this game, every game, computers in general, and life in general, logic is fundamental to the way things work and the way we think about stuff. But there are two things that you need to know about before delving into logic the way I will talk about logic. And those two things are binary numbers and functions. So binary, I'm sure you all know this, but I'll go over it again. You count with only two digits. There's only two values that you can have for any particular number, 0 and 1. But it doesn't have to be 0 and 1. You can represent them with anything you want. Dogs and cats, living together, mass hysteria, whatever you want. But the convention is to use 0 and 1. Sort of like in decimal, you use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then when you run out, you just add another digit onto the side. So you counting in binary, you go 0, and then 1, and then you run out of space. So you go send that one back to 0, and you put a 1 next to it. So 1, 0 is 2. And then you add 1, so you have 1, 1. And then you run out of space again. So you push both of those back to 0 and add a 1 on the end. So you have 1, 0, 0 for 4. And then add 1, 1, 0, 1. And then you'll partially run out of space. You change that 1 on the end to a 0. Now you have 1, 1, 0. And then you add 1, 1, 1, 1. Run out of space again. 1, 0, 0, 0. Binary counting's not so bad. Now, functions take some input and give you one thing back. That's the important part of a function. Not what goes into it, but that it gives you one thing back. So in this particular episode, we're going to be working with functions that give you back a binary result, a single binary digit or bit, no matter how many things you give to it. So the simplest binary function is sitting right in front of you. It has no inputs. You don't tell it anything. And it gives you a bit back. So we have one function that gives you a 0, and another function that gives you a 1. Those are the only possible void input binary functions that give you just a single bit back. It gives you a 0, or it gives you a 1. Simple. You've got true, you've got false. So if you're working with symbolic logic, the ones and zeros are trues and falses. Okay, so this is dead simple. You know this. This is not a problem, but I just want to get you thinking in the frame of these are functions that they take something, in this case nothing, and give you one thing back. Now we can move over to functions of a single binary digit. You give it 0 or you give it 1, and then it gives you something back. Our first function is the same as our first function over there. It gives you nothing back, regardless of the input. You give it these things, it ignores it, and gives you a 0. Same on this end. Same as the one over there. It always gives you back a 1. No matter what you give it, it ignores your input. These middle two are slightly different. This one seems totally frivolous. You give it 0, it gives you back 0. You give it 1, it gives you back 1. It just passes right on through. It's the identity. It just gives you exactly what you gave to it. Oddly enough, the logic gates that are built into this game, well, the AND, OR, and XOR do exactly that when you give them just one input. They just pass it right on through. Here, you have inverted the input. You give it a 0, it gives you a 1. You give it a 1, it gives you a 0. It's like, no, no, no. I don't trust you, and it gives you the exact opposite. So you have NAND, NOR, and XNOR. The little circle means no. Now, I'm not an engineer, but from what little I know of engineering type diagrams, these look familiar. So I have a feeling these shapes are related to actual electronic circuit diagrams. Again, I don't know. I don't work with them. But they seem like that's what they're trying to show here. So playing this game could give you a tiny, itsy bitsy leg up in that particular field. And if you're really interested in those sorts of things, I might actually end up going into that in this particular series. So if you use the straight up AND, OR, and XOR, passes straight through with one input. With a single input, the NAND, NOR, and XNOR invert it. So if you need a signal inverter, there you go. These are the 4 possible binary functions with 1 bit of input. Here's one function, here's another, a third, and a fourth. Again, very simple. Unary operations, that's an operation with 1 variable. Very easy, very simple, good to go. But they're really boring, they don't do what you need. What gets really interesting is binary. So here are all of the binary functions of 2 bits. You can see them over there. 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. I put them in that order because that's counting in binary. 0, 1, 2, 3. And I put these in this order, again, because of binary. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on down the line. And you'll notice that some of them are marked with the logic gates from this game, because they are, in fact, that logic gate. If you look in the wiring, they're actually hooked up to make sure that is exactly what the logic gate does. But there are a lot that don't have the logic gate. Why are there 16 functions of binary inputs, but only 6 gates? Well, that's because these gates are commutative. It doesn't matter which input is which. Whether it's the first bit or the second bit, ANDs, ORs, and XORs, they don't care the order in which you attach them, which is great for this game because you have no way of determining the order in which you attach things to these gates. There is only one dot, and you drag both things into it. There's no ordering, so it doesn't matter. We'll cover the exact details of that in a second. But all of these other ones that are black and these guys at the end, well, these guys at the end are also commutative, but they're boring. They ignore the inputs. They're the same ones from the very first thing. They give you all on or all off. These other ones that are black, they care about the ordering. They care, for example, if we look at this one, it's only true if just the last digit is a 1. If the first digit is a 2, it's off. It cares which one's which. So these are all of the logical functions of your inputs. So if you care about did they unlock the door and did they try to open it in that particular order, you can't do it with the gates as they stand. You have to do something a bit more fancy. But the beautiful thing is I'm fairly confident you can get to all of these functions from some arrangement of gates or wires or whatnot. It's just they don't have a quick and simple version and a name. Because 16 of these things need names, and symbolic logic in math, it is commutative. You don't have to worry about it because these ANDs, ORs, and XORs they don't care about order. So let's take a look at these various things in some sort of order. So first, we'll look at OR, because OR is fairly simple to understand. This first line is 0, 0. Both of them are false, thus OR says, nope, neither of them is true. Then you go through 0, 1, one of them's true, good. One of them's true, good. Both of them are true, fantastic. We like all of that. OR is very simple. On the other hand, AND is also quite simple. 0, 0, totally false? No way. False and true? No, they need to both be true. True and false? No, they need to both be true. They're both true. And only gives you true when they are both true. OR is either is true and is both are true. Now the one that gives some people a little bit of twinge is XOR. It's the exclusive OR. You'll note that it's similar to OR, except if both are true, it's like, nah, don't want it for both. One or the other, but not both. The other three are variants of the first three. You just add the 0 and negate it. So the easiest one to see is NAND, not AND. So you take AND and not it. You say, okay, if it's true, make it false. If it's false, make it true. Voila, NAND is born. Doop, doop, doop. That's all you got. So, the same holds true for the others. So we've got XOR and XNOR. You take the middle two, turn them off, you've got only both off and both on. And then all the way over here you've got XOR, where before it was if any of them are lit, now it's so long as none of them are lit. So these are the 16 possible binary functions written out in binary with their potential inputs. Some of them don't have names. If you find a particular use for one of them, then you could probably give it a name. But these are all of them in order. Now, logic doesn't stop there. Functions don't stop there. But you usually don't end up talking about ternary logic operators because they're very hard to write down on paper. With these, you can write A and B and come to some conclusion. You can do A and B and C, but that's just a string of binary operators. A true ternary operator looks something like this, where you've got 3 inputs and then some pattern of outputs. And it just keeps going and going and going. Because there's quite a lot of them. you've got 8 bits that need decisions. Because with 3 digits, you've got 8 possible combinations, and that means the number of functions is 2 to the 8th, which is 256 different functions. Goodness. But again, these are the ones that care about the order of those 3 digits. In symbolic logic, you generally don't care about the order. And so I've marked the ones that don't care about the order with the little logic gates up top, so you can see out of these 256, there's only, 16? 2, 4, 6, 8 on each side? And this is symmetrical, because math tends to do that. So you've got 16 that are viable for a ternary logic gate, where which one is which doesn't really matter. And generally, it boils down to counting how many are true. For example, if we come to, let's say, here. Here, we've got both false up top, which means 0 are lit. Here, just 1 would be lit, so you have 0, 0, 1. Here you have 0, 1, 0. So again, just 1 is lit. But here, 2 are lit. 0, 1, 1. And here, you go back to having 2 lit again. Wait. No, you have 2 lit here, so you go back to 1 here, 2, and all the way at the bottom, you've got 3. So these gates right here, this one is saying only if 2 are true will you actually keep it. Here it's 0 or 2. And that's true of all of the rest of these. So here you've got 1 or 2, 0, 1 or 2, just 3, 0 or 3. Now that's a lot of potential functions, and we only look at that many, and trying to say we barely even look at that's true. Computers, for the most part, don't even bother with these ternary operators. They work on just those. And depending on the system, they might not even use all 6. You don't need all 6. Because you can make any of the others from, I believe it's just one of those and an inverter. It's a little more complicated, so if you can do it dedicated, you might be able to do it faster, but it's quite quick. So, if we come back here, let's just do a quick little demonstration of how to get one of these things set up properly. You just take any little logic gate, you give it, I suppose we should put it on something. So you build yourself a thing. Take a logic gate, and you take some inputs. You connect them in. Doesn't matter the order, like I said. Now this is an AND gate, so if we turn them both on, it's on. If you go into it with good old E, you can switch it over to OR. Now this one only cares if either of them are set up. Beautiful. It doesn't matter which one, you're on your way. XOR, like we've said, one or the other, but not both. These inverters, well, it's not both, so it's good, and then it becomes both, and it's bad. NOR, the opposite of OR, so if you've got any on, it doesn't like it. And then XNOR, this is the one where it's either all or nothing. So what do you actually use these for? Well, in the book, it actually shows you how to make a door that you can open from either side. Which, in this example, is silly because you can just walk around. But, say, you can do just about anything with these. These are the fundamental building blocks of computers. And for some reason, for a second there, it was just ridiculous. Okay, so you could actually build a relatively working computer. Unfortunately, it would kind of drain all of your computer's resources, but it might be worth it. Being able to play games in your machine, and heck, basic games wouldn't even use up all of your resources. Okay, so say we put this here. Set it to open, so we want it to be red. And then we hook up this logic gate to it. Hey look, it's open! Okay, and now let's pick these up. Just want to finish their little tutorial on doors. You hook them into here. Now, with both of them off, what state do we want? We want it closed. So we definitely don't want anything that'll have it open on 0. Well, let's try and. Okay, so we've got and. We push the button. Aw, it's no good because we need it open on 1. So, or? Okay, so we've got that one open. We walk on through. We push the button. And it doesn't do anything because we need it closed on both. So that is why we need exclusive OR. We want it to be open when only one of the buttons has been pushed. If they're both on or both off, that's what we want. And this is how you can just start to wrap your head around the logic of how these things work. You think about states that you know that you want, and then figure out states you know that you don't, and then fix it from there. Also, there are ways of making physical logic gates. I might look into that in the future. One of my friends from Australia has been looking at a paper that involves super nano computational things using diamonds at very, very small scales, and attempted to build them in here, and there were some performance issues, so I'd kind of like to look into that now that we've got a good welding gun and all that, and then show some of the difference between that and these, particularly the little bit of difficulty you'll have with chaining these together. You'll note that I dragged the 2 buttons into here and this into a fancy little controller. Well, you can't actually string these. Wait a minute. Why can I string that to each other? I had a situation where I could not string them together. Oh. So, if we have this setup, we bring this here and this here. Huh. Okay, so you can string them together. I apparently just had them out in the world and they weren't on the same thing. So, yeah, you can actually string them together. It seemed like it would be weird that you couldn't. So, I personally have not done any testing on if there's any delay. Well, that looks pretty solid right there. So yeah, I want to check whether there's delay or performance issues when you get lots of these things in lots of complicated forms. I suppose I could just watch one of Brent Batch's videos because I'm sure he has pushed them to their very limit and then some. So if you want to see crazy computer type things, check out Brent Batch. He's been doing some crazy things with it. If there's anything crazy you want to see in Scrap Mechanic, he's probably got it. This is more learn the basics. He's, are you a little desirous of more than a game should be able to do? He's certainly your man for that, because, well, computer games inside computer games seem to be his specialty. For me, it's about the physics and the science and the math, and so I'm going to end this episode with, these are binary functions. They lead to symbolic logic. So if you want to think about it as a philosopher, you can think about the logic. If you want to think about it like a mathematician, here are all the functions. Those are the commutative ones. And commutative, well, commutativity is a handy feature to have. So in the comments, let me know if you want more logic, like how to combine them into doing interesting things, how to work them into a car, anything with logic. Let me know. If you want me to go back to measuring things regarding engines, let me know on that. And if you've got anything else that isn't build a giant transformer, man, just let me know. And if you want to say that, feel free to say it. Just don't be too heartbroken when I push that off way into the future. But either way, I will see you in the next episode of Scrap Mechanic with Lyte.